Welcome to another exciting episode of FireBytes. As Wendy mentioned, today we're going to be covering Dimension 2.0, which includes Command. Now, we've had Dimension out for quite a while now, and the feedback, the response from the market, our partners, our customers has just been overwhelmingly positive. People have come up and, it really is a game changer when you talk about network administration. As many of you may have realized or may have heard before, I was in network administration for about 15 years for a public school district, and Dimension really was a game changer in terms of the tools, the insight that WatchGuard gives you. So today we're going to be covering some of the new features that incorporate some of the requests that I've heard in the field. Can we have this, X, Y, and Z? We're going to cover those features, how to basically install it, how to get your fireboxes logging to Dimension, including that command component as well. So again, just want to encourage everyone to check out our YouTube channel. We throw up all of our FireBytes recordings on there. You can see the address there down below, youtube.com/WatchGuardNW. Feel free to leave us comments, leave us remarks, and certainly we'll take those into consideration as well. So let's go ahead and dive in, look at the agenda, and ultimately we're going to end up with that live session. As many of you are aware, I like to throw out the PowerPoint slides, so we're going to keep those to a minimum number and go from there. So obviously we're going to cover what's new in Dimension version 2.0 with Command. We're going to talk about the Dimension licensing overview, and then we're going to end up in that live demo. So looking at what's new in WatchGuard Dimension version 2.0, and I've got to tell you, WatchGuard has come a long way since when I became a customer, looking at the WatchGuard log and report server that I call the legacy report server. I set it up. I couldn't get, for instance, those email summary reports. All of that is now included with WatchGuard since WatchGuard 1.0, the executive summary report, et cetera. And now we have all these new feature-rich applications that we're bringing you as well through the Dimension. So right from the start, we have direct access to the Firebox. A lot of times we have so many different usernames and passwords, we can just get that right-click or, left-click and get right into that Firebox. I'll show you that today as well. We also have the ability to look at the health status. Now, if you have one Firebox, that might not be as an important tool for you. However, if you talk about having 10, 50, I have customers that have 150 different fireboxes, being able to look at that health status, say, you know what, is it time to renew those services? How are those boxes handling with CPU load? We're going to cover all that today as well. We also have the ability to look at the configuration history. So many of you, it's very difficult when you're in network administration environments where your boss or someone else says, hey, gosh, I need access to X, Y, and Z, a website, and all of a sudden you make some sort of exception on the firewall under pressure, and now that hole exists in the firewall. So sometimes that's a mistake. We need to roll back those changes. Sometimes you have those oh crap moments. And absolutely, with the configuration history, we have the ability to just roll back those changes as well. Then we have visibility and usability enhancements. As you know, WatchGuard Dimension is about bringing the intelligence of oceans of data, turning them into intelligence, and being able to see who your top talkers are, what they're doing on the network, bringing all those UTM services through one single pane of glass for reporting. Now, the other thing is, as I'm going through this, I do want to mention as well, sometimes people come up and they say, gosh, the dashboard on the Firebox has those some of those tools available that you're covering under Dimension. And absolutely, as you know, or most of you know, with 11.10, we have a lot of those dashboards on the Firebox itself. However, we don't have the ability to go back and look at a specific data set for time. So with WatchGuard Dimension, we can go back, look at what happened 3 days ago, look at a certain time slot as well, and look at the visibility and usability enhancements through those dashboards and reports for that. We have new role-based privileges, so we can set those access levels based on the permission. And then we have a new look and feel that works great with, regardless if you're using the iPad, Surface, another mobile device, or a full-blown laptop as well. And remember, you know, having the ability to be able to manage that from an iPad is a very positive thing, although I wouldn't recommend it. I've had number of occasions where I did need to make changes via an iPad. And then we have other new features. We have access point dashboards, finding out how many users are on a particular access point or an SSID, which we'll cover as well today. Before we dive into a live environment, I did want to mention, though, a lot of people are kind of curious about the licensing overview. So as we look at Dimension 1.0, there was not any necessarily requirements that worked with legacy devices. We could throw anything over to it. Now, as we talk about Dimension 2.0, there are a few requirements for Dimension 2.0. Just want to make sure that's clear. So on the licenses level, or the live security is required on your particular Firebox. You don't have to have a Dimension command to get that visibility, but you also do have to have Fireware 11, 10, or higher on there. And we'll cover why that is as well. So again, just to reiterate, Dimension 1.0, you didn't need to have live security services, and you didn't have to have any particular firmware on your device. With Dimension 2.0, that's changed slightly. So let's go ahead and dive in, take a look at Dimension 2.0, find out what exactly is going on under the hood from there. And I'm just going to log out. So right from the get-go, you see the new WatchGuard colors here. And this is an adaptive layout. So regardless if you're looking at a handheld device, this is going to give you that login as well. Now, I have covered under previous versions the ability to integrate Active Directory into your sign-on tools. So feel free to check those out as well. I'm just going to go ahead and log in. Now, right from the get-go, we see this device sheet, which doesn't look that different than what we're used to seeing in the past. However, right from here, we can see our firewalls. We can see if they're logging and whether or not they're managed through Dimension command. We see the serial numbers, the versions. This is a great function. Let's say there was, well, it was actually a heartbleed about 6 months ago, I think. People said, we need to make sure our fireboxes are up to date. Can we get a list of all of our devices and the firmware? So right from the get-go, we have this ability under list view. We can also look at, real quick, I did want to mention, I've heard this a number of times in the field as well, that people maybe had a Firebox logging to Dimension, that Firebox is no longer logging, and they have the question, how can we remove that from the network? So if you're in a WatchGuard Dimension and this logging has turned to no because, let's say, the Firebox, it was in a test environment, and now we've moved it to a production environment, and maybe we've changed Dimension servers. If this changes to no, we can simply right-click and click on Remove, and that's going to remove that entry from a Dimension as well as all of the log data as well. So just a little tidbit that I thought of as I see the screen, so hopefully it's helpful for a lot of you. Now, as we look at the health screen here, we have the ability to look at, for instance, CPU usage. This is the %. We can also look at memory usage. We can also look at the uptime and then the feature key for that. So if we needed just a quick overview of my firewalls, I have the ability right from here to look at the health on there. Now, again, a powerful feature is the license dashboard. We can see exactly where my security services are at, if they've expired. And obviously, looking at this, Montana, I need to go in and renew my security services for my Montana firewall because they seem to be expired. Now, we do have live security services, so all of this. And again, as we look at any of these lists and we see the little icon to export to Excel, we can simply click on that and it's going to export to a CSV right there. We also have the powerful new feature right now of looking at a map. So as we look at, for instance, a firewall, we can simply hover over, look at whether or not it's logging data, whether or not it's managed, and then I have the ability to simply log right into that firewall as well. So again, for those of you that have multiple boxes under management of Dimension, that is helpful for you. You can also search. So if we wanted to look, for instance, for a firewall in Montana, we can use the search field here as well. So now I'm just going to go ahead. Real quick, I did want to share, if you are on WatchGuard Dimension 1.0, you can just go under System Settings and go out to, for instance, software.watchguard.com. And right from here, again, it's a free download. We've changed the software downloads so you don't even need to log in anymore. You just click on Dimension 2.0 or 2.0.1. And if you have a new installation, just choose this file. Otherwise, if you're upgrading, we have the Hyper-V and then the VMware file. So just make sure that you choose appropriately so you don't overwrite your data if you just needed to upgrade. So in this case, we're just going to download this OVF, the upgrade file. We choose that, and it's going ahead and download it. I'm going to cancel that. But once that's downloaded, then it's as easy as coming into Dimension, going into System Settings, Upgrade, and choose that file, and that's going to begin that upgrade process. You're going to still maintain all of those, all of your data as well by upgrading. So going in, looking at this, now the first step that you'll want to do is to add a particular firewall to WatchGuard Dimension. So the way we do that now with adding a managed device, again, as I mentioned, we're just to have a few requirements. We're going to need to make sure that the firebox is running FireWare OS 11.10.1 or higher. And then it has a firebox, a feature key with the live security service and Dimension Command features enabled. We're just going to choose Next. Now in this case, we have the ability to either add a single device or a fire cluster. Now let's say I had a new firewall and I wanted to name it M300. It's going to be in Seattle. My serial number is ABCDEF. We choose the serial number, and it needs to be 13. And this is what I get for not having a valid serial number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I want to go ahead and enable logging, click on Next. Now what it's going to do is generate what we call a WGD file that is basically going to have all the management settings file. So if I hit download, that's going to download this WGD file. And then the next step is to go to that particular firewall and integrate or upload that. So let me just show you that process. So now the M300 Seattle is in there, logging is no, management is disabled because that firebox hasn't checked in yet. So the next step would be to go to that device. Let's just take this sample device that's already set up here, this Colorado T10. I'm going to go ahead and log into it. Just log in to the firebox. And again, this is just the steps of integrating your firebox to the WatchGuard Dimension 2.0 with command. So I simply go to Management Devices, and I would say enable centralized management with the Dimension command. Now, if we did, we could still use the management server on there. And for those of you that are pushing out policy templates, today we don't have the policy templates available. However, we're going to have those available in the near future for that. So we can just select a WGD file. So I'm going to my downloads. I select the M400 Seattle WGD file, click OK, and then it's upload it, and then it points to Dimension, and that handshake is complete. So going back into, so again, I'm just going to show you how to remove that. I click on the firewall entry, click on remove, and it's going to remove that device. So if any of you have those firewalls that you need to remove, you can do that there. The other cool tip and trick that I love with a new firmware with 11.10 is we can go, again, right to your firewall and go in under look at System, Upgrade OS, and now we have the new feature ability. It checks WatchGuard.com, looks for any updates that are available, and allows us to upgrade simply from the web UI versus having to download a file and upload it into the Firebox. So very cool new feature on that through the web UI as well. So going back to WatchGuard Dimension, so now we have our firewalls, we have our health license map, we went over those features. We can also look at, for instance, VPN. So in this case, we have a VPN between my Montana and Colorado office locations. As we look at that, we can see our hub and spoke location. We have the 0 route. We see that everything is green, which it should be. And that means that my Colorado T10 has the ability to communicate to the Montana via the branch office VPN. So very cool features with having the ability to do very easy branch office VPN as well. So looking at, let's take a look at the Portland M400. Now this is going into the dashboard through Dimension. So right here we see 52 days uptime, 47% memory usage, 0% CPU. Again, this is on the M400, which is our screaming new product, offers our first 64-bit operating system. So looking at this, we see management connection, logging connection, everything is as it should be here. We also have the ability, as I mentioned, the configuration history. So we can say, you know what, let's take a look at the configuration history. We can view all those configuration changes and look at the difference as well. So I'm going to say, let's compare the revision 19 against the previous one and find out exactly what was done in the firewall. So in this case, we had a proxy action modified for K through 6 students, and we modified the HTTP proxy on there. So again, looking at this, we see the summary. We have the ability, we see the screen here. We can also click on, for instance, actions. We have the ability to go reboot it, update the feature key right from here. But I can simply go into the web UI in a new tab, and rather than having to type in the username and password, here we can just go in and click on and see all of our data set as well for top clients, top destinations, top policies. So for instance, if someone was, we maybe had an advanced malware attack, or someone was trying to click on a celebrity pics, we would be able to see that through here, as I mentioned before. So looking at some of these new features that are available, as I mentioned, we have the AP devices. So this is a new report that's going to tell us how many users are on the access point. So for instance, I have an AP200. We have one client. Here we can see we have a larger client device. So we can simply click on this and we see that we have 4 clients for a total of 8 clients connected to those devices. Now, again, as I mentioned, we can go back in time with WatchGuard Dimension and see those results. So maybe we are doing a network kind of an analysis or finding out what our needs are, we can simply click on and view those AP devices on there. Again, we have the same ability as we look through here. We're in WatchGuard Dimension. We have the ability to look at top clients, top domains, top URL categories, and again, this is tying directly into WebSense database, which tells us, whether or not we want to, we can configure whether or not we want shopping allowed on our network, or Dropbox. We can see here some Dropbox traffic. We could actually go in and click on this and add to block sites right from here. So, for instance, if someone was, excuse me, let's go back here. If someone was potentially doing something bad on the network, or there were a number of denies that were coming from a particular device, I could simply go on, click on this, and add to block sites list. So again, it's that command component where we don't necessarily need to log into the individual firewall. We can simply do it from a dimension. Now we see here top protocols. This is all going to tie into our UTM services on here as well. So if I want, I can go under reports. Now some of the other reports that are out there, again, as we look at, for instance, Quotas, that's a new feature from WatchGuard. And if you're interested in hearing about that with future FireBytes, go ahead and send me an email or send us a message on that. Leave a comment, and we will certainly include that under our future FireByte sessions. But again, with denied quotas, we're saying, you know what, this user is only either given 30 minutes, or maybe it's 200 minutes, or we can also base it on how many megabytes or gigabytes they've transferred. So we have the ability to see who was denied quota right from here as well. Now, as I mentioned, there are some other reports, and every time I look at this after an update, there are more reports, more insight into your traffic that's going across your network. So the one thing I did want to mention today was AP devices. As we look at some of those new reports from WatchGuard, now we have those access points logging to Dimension as well. We can see your average clients. We can look at max clients, average rate, max rate. So again, it's just another tool that allows you to have a health check on your network as well. We have AP device usage. So if we wanted to graph that over time to look at those clients, we could also look at bytes if we wanted to per access point. So, maybe we get to the point that we're seeing that this access point is being hammered a little too much or used too much. We could simply go out and buy a new access point, and using the management controller, simply push out those same policies to those additional access points. And then we have SSID usage. So maybe you have more than one SSID in your environment, and you want to find out maybe a guest Wi-Fi that they have their own access, and you can find that right through here, SSID clients. You have the ability to look at those on an SSID basis as well. So as I mentioned, we have the going back, and now we're simply looking at dimension of that data. But again, we can go ahead and just log right into that firewall if we needed to as well from there. So some of the other things that we have are under user management. We have the ability to do role-based users. So again, tying in Active Directory if we wanted to, but we can also just click on or create local users and then have their have the privileges as well from here, your roles-based administration. So we have looking at the firewalls. The firewalls are joined to Dimension for those command components. We have the branch office VPN, the new tools available that way. We have the license page. We can see the maps where they're located, the Firewatch, Tree View. Again, just building on that great tool, WatchGuard Dimension, that we've offered, and really has been a game changer in the role of a network administrator. So with that, I wanted to thank you for